So I'm not comfortable talking on this thing because I feel like, I don't know, I like monitor my voice and all this stuff, but everybody was inspired to write today at the poetry reading, and I really wanted to too. I wanted to write something about something to the effect of I just feeling crappy about Yair and feeling tired the whole day, feeling like I didn't get enough sleep. And then, that amounts to something. It's like an amalgamation of things. Me drinking too much, not having enough to eat, and not sleeping enough, and waking up with just this turmoil kind of thing. I mean, I know I don't live in Siberia, and then I don't live in Syria, and all this stuff, and I'm appreciative of that. So it's like I have to put it into perspective. But on the other hand, I did feel just so wrought, with stuff. But then, then I saw Tim, Seibel at poetry reading, and it's even like when I looked at his revisions, they weren't incredible, okay? His poetry was great, but it was how he said it. He had so much texture to his words, and I feel like what I wanted to feel, which is this, there's always that when I'm at schools or when I'm substituting or wherever I am, I always want what I wanted today in class, what I got today in class, which was just texture and depth and soul and warmth. I can't even describe it, but it fed me and it refueled me. And all the time I was in class, when I was rushing to get there, I was thinking, I just want to go to sleep, I just need to refuel my battery. But it's like the minute that I got there, it all happened. Like I got filled up. It was like those times before when I got filled up from being with certain people who had soul. It's like they recharged me. And I guess the people that I've been dating lately, it's like I always am thirsty for my writing program afterwards. And then afterwards, it was incredible. I went to the the school center, to the top floor, the 5th floor. They call it the baloney room. I don't know why. And then he read again, Tim did, and behind him was this completely glass encased wall, and you could see the tops of the Belvedere and the tops of, University of Maryland Medical, and I've been around those places, and I know what they look like standing at the bottom of them and looking up. But I had to account for the fact that this is the way that Baltimore looked in this way, from this view, on the 5th floor of the academic building, with Tim speaking in front of him, with all that texture, and that's the way Baltimore was to me tonight. It was what I saw when I first came here to the city. When Matt took me to the 13th floor, and I didn't know a thing about Baltimore except from what the billboard said, and then I saw it from the 13th floor. I had no idea what was out there. It's the same feeling I got tonight. It was amazing. I really wanted to write about this, but about how this feeling of being in this one room in the academic center with, first of all, the people I started out with, like Mike and Dewey and Ashley and Amanda and Mia, what that was like when we first went to orientation together, and just how fresh everything was. It was like one of the times where I felt like I could belong, where I could be me, where I could say stuff, and where I could come out, of the closet, so to speak. And And so watching them today, I mean, all of them were at one table, and then I was with Kristen, and I was with Melissa Banks and all that stuff. But, you know, I've made a lot of friends who were second, third year after me, you know, MFA students. And I was just really, I guess, in my element. I mean, I felt so fulfilled. And in the back of my head, I was, you know, thinking how I haven't gotten sleep in 2 nights and thinking how tired I was. But then on the other hand, I just wanted to write. And the funny thing was, afterwards, you know, Mike was really nice. He tapped me on the shoulder and he was like, I know you're taking a picture with Tim, but we're all going to be going to Terps later. And so I went because I knew I'd regret it if I missed this moment. And he read 5 poems, all ending with Swayze, that he'd written about Patrick Swayze during the reading, that were incredible, you know, that were like based off of his 6 films, right? Like Point Break and like Roadhouse and Dirty Dancing, and I mean, they're in Ghost, and I don't know, there were like a couple more that I knew that I didn't know, but anyway, the only pen I had, I loaned to Kristen because she was inspired to write too during the reading, and I was just desperate to write. You know, like I had so much to say. Basically, what I'm saying now, I guess, which is just how I felt like this layer came on me during the reading and also during class that I wanted, you know, because sometimes I get waylaid. Sometimes I just get off track. I agree to do stuff with the person I'm dating, you know, and then the next day it's just like, God damn, my soul's been stripped. And today I felt it because I hadn't slept, so it was like even more so. But going to the reading, I guess it's like it breathed life into me. So into Aloha Sushi, I got a bunch of fireballs, and then, you know, it was just really good to connect with Ashley and peel shrimp with Jeffrey, and just talk with Dewey about what, you know, he was pulling from first year in fiction and what he's going to be doing for his thesis, because I remember all his stories, you know. I mean, I like the one where he broke into some stupid car factory, you know, and none of us believed it was true, and then it turned out it was sort of like extrapolated from this actual real experience where this shit did happen, and it was cool to see his face light up because I totally remember all this stuff, and yeah, and I really liked it, and so after that, you know, like, we went to the Owl Bar, and I know I made plans for Thanksgiving for Jean, but Kristen was like, you know, what are you doing? And I said, I'm homeless for Thanksgiving. And so now, you know, she wants me to come to her place, which is really cool. Her husband's like a vegan chef, and, well, she just told me to bring lots of liquor, so it's my kind of Thanksgiving. But it was just great to sit across from Mandy and Tracy and Gold and her and Kristen, and I mean, that's our place, you know. It's like that's where we started off. I mean, my mom and I, as soon as I got into UB, my mom and I went to the Owl Bar right afterwards. And ever since then, after orientation, you know, when the semester's in, when there's an MFA reading for faculty or students, I mean, we always go to Owl Bar afterwards. And we always get the same seats somehow. You know, this long 10-person table. And it just reminds me of the Algonquin table, you know, where we can just talk freely, because all of us like to have long talk, you know, or large talk, and we just get to expound and just go into like insecurities and setbacks, and every bit of it is just so interesting, and I could stay there forever. So I'm just really, I always thought that word grateful was so boring, you know, but I am tonight. I am, because it's doing something to me. I mean, it's making me feel a certain way, and that feeling is just, well, I would just say that feeling is like, It's like somebody, you know, I don't know, what are those old mechanical things that they used to do? That they used to like put in between people's mouths and then they would pump them and they would pump air into people, you know, just like in The Princess Bride. That thing that they used to bring Wesley back to life. It was like somebody opened my mouth and put that in me when I saw my MFA friends. And even though I was dead tired, I haven't slept in 48 hours. But I'm okay because, you know, I know I have to teach phys ed tomorrow, and I'm going to be bouncing around with the kindergartners and shit, but, I don't know, I guess I lost track somewhere along the way, you know? I mean, I know why. I know for what reason I lost track. It was to party, because I met somebody at Metro, and that led to one thing after another, and then, you know, I asked Yair to fix my computer, and then that led to one thing after another, and I sort of forgot about my MFA, and I forgot about, God, I forgot about the things that I used to do, you know, the poetry readings and Amanda's poetry readings, you know, the ones that used to take place at Swanson. What am I saying? Swanson? I don't know, in Hamden, and well, I mean, it's like I've been so lost from all that stuff, disconnected, and you know, the last time I think I went to one was for Michael Kimball's new book, Galactica, I think it was, something, but I just love going there because Michael has this abusive, you know, background, and what do you call it? Big Ray, one of his books was about his, you know, abusive father and everything. But God, man, I mean, it's like, God, you take a sensitive soul like him and you just cover him in what he was going through when he was a child. And it's just like, God, he was in birth, this incredibly sensitive, porous, vulnerable, deep soul. And I just really enjoyed being there for his reading. I was so touched. It sort of brought me back to life because, again, you know, I was dating Yair, and he could be so crummy and such a dick and so overwhelmingly arrogant. You know, not attractive at all in a way. You know, just there's that power, but then there's the takeaway. Because just as much as there's power, there's arrogance. And I think that seeing Michael was so obliterating. Like, you know, it just sort of obliterated all of the... I mean, it's not like I'm not porous to everything that Yair is. I mean, when you're in a relationship with somebody, you're super close. And I don't mean mentally, I mean physically with them. And so I think that it sort of seeps into you, whether you want it to or not. And even if you try not to let it to, it does. But so I guess I sort of look at this stuff as relief, just like I did with Noah, because I looked at it as an escape almost from sort of these things that were weights, you know, that were big jugular, big balls of chain just sort of weighing on me, but that I felt like were just insignificant, that weren't really bothering me. You know, I was sort of ambivalent about the whole thing, like, oh, you know, washing it off, it's not, you know, I'm making it more than it is, you know. At any rate, I found all this stuff very comforting. So I don't know, I just I guess I just sort of wanted to breathe tonight and to speak out, and I'm just grateful for all my, you know, I mean, I know I keep saying what Gertrude Stein did, you know, like, this is where I live, but my MFA is where my home is, because I feel more at home there than I do at my own. Anyway, good night.